Hey, good morning and welcome to the final shir of Masechet Shabbos. It's amazing how these things work out. We're just finished Masechet Darm. Today I started Masechet Nazir, and today we're finishing the longest Masechet in Shas in terms of Mishnayos, right? The longest Gemara that there is Gemara to. Shabbos has the most prakim, 24 prakim. There is a Masechet Kalim which has 30, but there's no Gemara for that. But we're finishing 24 prakim Masechet Shabbos. It's gone a lot faster than I thought. A lot of these prakim, it's funny, in the Maseches in Seder Zroim, a lot of the prakim were very long, like 10, 12 Mishnayos. Masechet Shabbos, like a lot of them have 3 to 6 Mishnayos. This parak only has 5. Last parak, Mishnayos Daled, and hey, Mishnah Daled says, parak of Daled, Mechaskan says, doing lifnei behema. You're allowed to cut up dluin, cucumbers, gourds, you like to say, squash, doing the squash here in Israel in front of an animal, even though technically, I think the chiddush of this Mishnah is that it was supposed to be for you. You were supposed to put the squash in your soup. You can use it for your animal, but as an avail klavim, also an animal, even though it died on Shabbos, right? And therefore you're cutting up, you're feeding it to your dogs. But when Shabbos started, ben hashmashos, right? You intended to eat the animal for yourself, to slaughter the animal. You can't slaughter it on Shabbos, but after Shabbos, you're going to slaughter it. And now it's dead, so you can cut it up. You don't have to slaughter it anymore and give it to your dog. It's dog food. Nevela is much to give to your dogs. So according to Rabbi Shimon, who's his Mishnah follows, it's okay because it's not completely muksa. I'll explain to you in Mitzion. The machlok is Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. Omer, Lo Haisan Nevela, Me'erev Shabbos Asur L'Fishenam in Amuchan. He argues, famous machlok is Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda, is there muksa or ain't muksa? This is one of the sources. So Rabbi Yehuda says, no. If it was Nevela on Erev Shabbos, I knew at Ben Hashmashos on Friday night I was going to give it to my dogs. If I didn't know, if it died on Shabbos itself, then I can't give it. It's considered muksa. I'll explain their machlokes for the final time in Yom Tzion. Hey, Mefir Nadarim b'Shabbos. Talking about Second Nadarim, we quoted this Mishnah in the 10th paragraph of Second Nadarim. Hafaras Nadarim, the father and the husband have the ability to mayfair their wives or daughters Nadarim. You can do that on Shabbos. Even if it's not l'sorach Shabbos, because you really only have 24 hours to make for the neder. And nishal l'dvarim shein l'sorach Shabbos. You also had a matter neder. If it's for necessary for Shabbos, if you took a neder, you're not going to eat food on Shabbos, drink wine on Shabbos. You can matter that neder on Shabbos. Pokin esmor, even though normally you don't like to do these things because it looks like a based in, it looks like a business-like activity. If it's sorach Shabbos, you're allowed to. Pokin es because it's a personal activity. Pokin esmor umodin es amatlas ves mikvah. You're allowed to close up a window, right? This is talking about a case for Sorach Mitzvah, right? Where there's a dead person in the house and the tumah can come out of the window. So you're allowed to add on to all ara, even though you're putting something in the window to close up the window, right? The window's open to close up the window, and it's not attached to the window. It's not like a window that's attached to the building. So if you want to, we're talking about a jug or something like that over here, a barrel. Normally it's a problem, a mosifin oil, right, to temporarily add a makeshift oil. However, here they allow the sorach mitzvah. Umodinas hamatlas. If you have something you're not sure if it's tamei, a rag, right, it has to be 3 etzbos by 3 etzbos. If it's a very small rag, you can measure it. If it's less than 3 etzbos by 3 etzbos, it's not makabel tumah. That's not mikvah, right? You want to go for some reason, sometimes women have to go to the mikvah on Shabbos, Friday night. The mikvah falls on our Friday Shabbos. You're allowed to measure it to see it's 40 saw. They actually did this bitafiach. They had an incident with this dead person. They didn't want the people to come tummy. Let's say the kohanim in there. Or they closed up the window bitafiach with a jug. They also took a klishal cheres, right, an earthenware vessel. They tied it with a gemi, something like a vine or something like that, which is at least could be used for Michael Behema. The reason that they tied it with this thing is to measure how big the hole was. There was a hole in the barrel, and if the hole was poseach tefach, had the width of a tefach, so then it wouldn't it wouldn't become an oel. If it's less than a tefach, then it would be an oel, and it would transmit tumah. So if it's a poseach tefach, it's not going to be a good oel, and it wouldn't transmit tumah. If the hole is less than a tefach, then it would transmit tumah. From what their actions we learn, you're allowed to do a lot of things on Shabbos. You're allowed to add on to all ara. you're allowed to measure things. Even though medida is not allowed, you're not supposed to measure things on Shabbos, right? But if it's medida shal mitzvah, the Gemara says, if it's for a purpose of a mitzvah, to know there's no tuma over here for a kohen, or to know that the person can go to the mikvah, or if there's tuma, the woman becomes tummy through a rag. So you can measure these things for sorach mitzvah, the kosher Shabbos. You can also do a kesher, not a kesher midaraisa, not a kesher chayama, but a kesher midarabanan. That's normally forbidden. They allow these things for sorach mitzvah. The reason they allow this thing for sorach mitzvah is because it's not a business-like activity. You're doing it for a mitzvah, right? You're measuring the mikvah. It's not because you want to, build a swimming pool over there. You want to, it's doing a mitzvah for her as a personal use, and therefore they'll relax these serving the rabbanon because it's not business-like activities. Sali Kalam Masechah Shabbos. We finished Masechah Shabbos. Stay tuned for the last Iyam Mitzion. We discussed Mishnah Dalet a little more in depth.